man. Well, since it's not fly fishing weather, I'm going to tie some flies. I'm going on the assumption that you know the basics of fly tying, and I don't have to explain to you what the fly tying tools are or the fly tying lingo. But if that's not the case and you have never tied a fly before, or you maybe have tied a couple of flies but you're not really sure how to tie flies, I'm working on a video that'll teach everything that I wish that I had been taught when I first started tying flies. I taught myself how to tie flies when I was 12 years old. I bought a little cheap fly tying kit, and I bought some books, and there was quite a steep learning curve, but there doesn't have to be. It's pretty simple and it's really fun if you just have a few pointers. But with that said, I'm going to move on with tying this fly, and as soon as I get the other video finished, there will be a link to it in the description below. So what you're going to need for the atoms is you're going to need some dry fly hooks. You're going to need some dry fly hooks, either anywhere from size 14 to 16. I've got 16 here. You're going to need some ultra fine or super fine gray dubbing. You can either use natural or synthetic. And then you're going to need some grizzled hackle. And I have two kinds here. I have this really fine stuff that I use for the hackle itself. And then I have this cheaper, larger hackle that I use for the wings and for the tail. And then you're going to need some gray thread. If you are going to be fishing anywhere where there's a barb limit or a barb restriction, even if you don't fish there all the time, if you're planning on fishing there at all, I would suggest that all of your hooks are barbless, because if you ever accidentally bring a barbed hook to a fishing water that's barbless only, you can get in some major trouble. Okay, I'm going to start here with putting the hook in the vise. I always like to ping the hook just to make sure that it's a good one. As I've said in other videos, every pack of hooks that I've ever bought, there's at least one hook in it that's defective, and it'll either bend when you do this and stay bent, or it'll break. And you don't want either one of those. Neither one of those will catch fish. Alright, let's get started here. So what you're going to do to start with is you're going to tie in up towards the eye, but not quite at the eye. Make just a little base that the wings don't spin when you put them on. Also, you might notice that I always keep my scissors in my hand. I learned years ago that if you just always keep these scissors in your hands, you'll get used to it, and then you don't ever have to look for them, and it speeds up the fly tying process. Okay, what you can do, you're going to get two of the wing tips, and you're going to line them up. You're going to try to split the hook, have one feather on either side of the hook. After you tie the wings in, you're going to wind the thread back to the bend, and once you go back to the bend, you're going to take some grizzled hackle, and you don't want this fluffy stuff like this. What you want is you want some of the barbs. So you can see these are stiffer up here. So you're going to take the longer part where it's the barbs and not the fluff, and you're going to cut a small section of the feathers off. You want the tail to be roughly 2/3 of the length of the hook, so that when you tie it in, it's about half the length of the hook. Now once you tie that in, you're going to start dubbing on the dubbing, and you want the body to be tapered, but it doesn't have to be, you don't want it to be fat at all. You just want it to be a lightly tapered as it gets up towards the wings. Once you get the dubbing up to the wings, then you're going to tie in some grizzled hackle, and if you use one of these big long ones like this, this will tie about 4 or 5 flies of this size, but I still have a pack of these shorter ones left, so I'm going to go ahead and use it. I cut the fluffy part off the bottom before I tie it in. Then you tie it in just behind the wing, and then you're going to take your thread back up to the eye. Now, you can use hackle pliers if you want to clip on the end, but I actually prefer to run the hackle without the hackle pliers. I just run it around and hold it with my fingers. Now, you're going to run a few times behind the wing, and then a little bit in front of the wing as well. What you don't want to do though is you don't want to crowd the eye. You're going to tie it off right at the eye. Now with small hooks like this, you don't want to get too crazy with the building up a head. A lot of the bigger flies you want to build up a head, but if it's a small fly, you don't want to put too much there, and you can build up the head at the same time you're whip finishing it. You got to be careful and make sure that the hackles don't get trapped under the. Put head cement on the fly just to keep the threads from coming loose. And there you have it, the Adams fly.